Hi, I'm Deborah Boschert. I want to show you my latest art quilt. Here it is. It's called Dwell and Develop. It's 12 by 12 inches and it's an art quilt, or what I might also call a fabric collage. And as I was creating it, I took lots of pictures of the step-by-step process. So I put together a quick little video, and I'm going to give a voiceover where I talk about all the decisions and the creative process along the way. So I hope you enjoy it and you find it inspiring. Here you can see some of the details in the quilt, and I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into all of those details and layers of design. I started with that beautiful sage green fabric, and I created a surface design using paint and a stamp made with yarn wrapped around a block. It's really easy, and there's my paint and there's a close-up of that easy stamp. Then I chose a commercial print to be a hillside to contrast with that original surface design. Now I know I wanted to include a silhouette of a house under construction. So on the right you see my original photograph, and then on the left you see the enlarged pattern that I created to help me make a freezer paper stencil. So then I used that pattern and I traced some simplified lines onto freezer paper. You can see that here. On the right you see my pencil lines, and on the left you see the enlarged pattern. Here I cut out the freezer paper stencil with X-Acto knife and scissors, and then I put that freezer paper stencil onto my fabric background. And then I'm going to use that stencil. I ironed it down, and then I used paint to create that stencil of that cool construction silhouette. Here's the stencil peeled away, and it leaves that beautiful painted outline. I really like the way it enhances the background of the quilt. I also wanted to add some handwriting as just a graphic detail, so I picked a couple of areas in the quilt and just added some suggestion of handwriting. Honestly, as I began this project, I created 4 pieces using this same composition. But obviously I chose the green one to finish for this particular project, and the next thing I did was add a few pieces of fabric as a collage detail, including the little blue house shape. So those are actually fused down to the background, and then I'm going to begin to think about what other layers of design I want, including free motion quilting. So using that blue thread, I made these graphic cloud-like shapes, which add another layer of design to the quilt. So we've got the surface design background, the handwriting, the silhouette stencil, and the free motion quilting. Of course, the next step is to add hand embroidery, which is one of my very most favorite things to do. I chose some coordinating embroidery floss, and I began to add some of my favorite stitches. Here it is on my design wall, and I'm thinking about what else needs to be added and where I can add some additional detail. I added some blue stitches here, and then I put it back on the design wall, and I began to think about how it needed to be finished. And I was concerned about this area where the blue house is. I feel like it's a little bit empty and really is calling for some kind of embellishment. I considered buttons, which seemed a little bit too crafty. I looked at some purple embroidery floss, which didn't really fit the color palette, and then I considered some square sequins. I decided to go with these blue square sequins, and I stitched them onto the art quilt in this very organized linear pattern, which I think really complements the curves in the rest of the quilt. So the quilt is almost done. I need to step back and look at it carefully to see if there's anything missing. You can see I was actually working on 2 pieces, and I decide that the green quilt really is ready to trim up and finish. The quilt is trimmed to 12 by 12 inches, and I'm going to finish the edge by taking a teeny tiny machine stitch right up close to the edge, and then I'm going to paint the edge of the quilt using acrylic paint and this awesome spouncer tool. This covers up the color of the batting, and it also seals in those edges. So here you see the finished quilt, all the details, the hand stitching, the machine stitching, the hand embroidery, the square sequins, and the layers of fabric and paint and design. It's titled Dwell and Develop. Thanks for watching.